Senator, my name is Dan McKnight from Meridian. 15 years ago, I was deployed to Afghanistan, and you were the governor of Idaho.
I read your letter to the end.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
And I agree with you.
Thank you. I'm here to ask for your support again. You helped us before. We couldn't get supplies in Afghanistan, and you were a man of your word and said you would help. Within 48 hours, we had supplies on the way. I came and thanked you in your office. I'm going to ask you for your help again because I think you're a man of integrity. I think you're pro-military, and you're a great Idahoan. Recently, Politico had a poll done where 80% of registered Republicans and 84% of Trump supporters approved of the president's call to bring troops home from Yemen and Syria and Afghanistan specifically. Stars and Stripes magazine did a poll on Veterans Day where 85% of service members and veterans, the very ones who are called on to fight the wars, agreed that we've been in Afghanistan and Iraq for too long. It's just simply been too long. Recently, you've even said that we won't be the world's policeman, and I appreciate that comment. Right now, there's a call to bring the troops home. We've been there for 18 years in Afghanistan. There's a movement. We've got a president who's willing to spend the political capital to bring us home. I happen to live in a great state of Idaho where I can ask my senator personally, face to face, if he'll support this. You sit as the chairman of the Senate Committee on Foreign Relations, second only to the president and maybe the Secretary of the State when it comes to foreign policy. And so I'm here to ask you today, under what situation and what circumstances could you support bringing the troops home from Afghanistan and ending these entangled alliances that have been going on for too long?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I share your. Let me tell you why I share your feelings in that regard. You know, after World War II, America did a really, really good job of nation building. We rebuilt Germany. We rebuilt Japan. After the Korean War, we did a really, really great job of building South Korea, and. Those were our experiments in nation building, and we don't get nearly the credit we should in the world for what we did in those countries. We've been at this now for over the last over 2 decades of trying to replicate that success in the Middle East. And what do we have to show for it? A goose egg is what we have to show for it. We need to focus on America's interests. What are America's interests? Because, look, if you're going to give something to somebody like a gift of democracy, of a free market system, of human rights, of the basic rights that are stated in our Bill of Rights and Constitution, they've got to want it. And if they don't want it, it doesn't matter how much you shovel at them, it ain't going to happen. We've spent $2 trillion now in Afghanistan, and we've shed lots and lots of American blood there. I'm with you. I am through trying to do nation building with countries that don't want it. They've got to show some type of an appreciation, some type of an embracement of it, and they simply don't. That is the places where we've tried recently. Iraq isn't much different than that. Syria is a mess, of course. You can't even put a ruler to that. But I share your feelings in that regard. There are 2 concerns about bringing them out of Syria. Let's take them separately. Let's take Afghanistan and Syria separately. In Syria, the 2 concerns are, first of all, the fact that we're not quite done with ISIS, almost, but not quite. Secondly, if indeed you pull everyone out of there, that's all well and good. And there were 2,200 there. I mean, it wasn't like we had battalions there. We had 2,200 people. You've got to be able to respond if we get a terrorist threat, terrorist cells coming out of Syria. You've got to be ready to respond. Now, you know, having been military, that you don't have to have a platform in country to be able to respond. We responded to go get Osama bin Laden from a platform that wasn't in that country, and there's all kinds of examples of that around. So we can do that. The other problem we have there is, anybody here know who the best friends in the battlefield that we had in Syria? Anybody know who it was? The Kurds, exactly. And the Kurds are the best fighters there are in the Middle East. I mean, if I'm in a firefight, I want to have. If I can't have the United States military have my back, I want the Kurds to have my back. They have distinguished themselves. They're brave. They're all in. They're defending their homeland, and they have a situation with the Turks that really causes us difficulties because the Turks are an ally of ours. Indeed, they're a NATO ally of ours. And then on the other hand, you've got the Kurds who've been much more of an informal ally of ours, but incredibly loyal and incredibly helpful, and sometimes when we haven't been nearly as loyal to them as we should have been. So those two things have to be accounted for as we leave them. Let's go to Afghanistan. Right now, the President has assigned the State Department to do some negotiating with the Taliban to try to get us to the point where we are getting out of there. When I talk about standing up, when I talk about nation building, one of the things that's most critical to nation building is standing up a military force. We have tried and tried and tried to stand up military forces in these various countries. They're not like Americans. They're not like the Kurds. They just haven't stood up. And so, in any event, hopefully we're going to get some good news out of those negotiations that are aggressively going on to try to get us out. Great question on the getting your supplies. You know, it was a lot easier when I was a commander-in-chief, 1 out of 1, than be 1 out of 535. So I'll keep at it. Thanks so much. Great question.